from the kitchen, folks. Today in this film I'm going to be making my 4th cider of the 2024 cider season. It's going to be a nice and straightforward hopped cider. So first of all, before I go any further, let's have a look at the ingredients that are going into this brew. So it's cider. I need apples. Now I'm going to be using about 5 kilograms of apples from my garden. They're a mixture of sweet eaters and bitter cookers, and these are all windfall apples thanks to Storm Lillian. So these are windfall apples from my garden. My dry ingredients that are going into this cider: there's 400 grams of dextrose monohydrate brewing sugar. I'm going to put some yeast nutrient from Young's in. I'm going to add some pectolase, so hopefully to achieve clarity or a clear cider. That's from Young's also. And my yeast of choice is Van Class dried active yeast. Pretty good stuff. I've enjoyed using this. It's done some good ciders and wines for me. And my hops are dehydrated Cascade hops from my own garden, which I picked, packed and dehydrated last year. Now this is going to be a cider where I'm using a steam press to make the cider. It's a Take steam press. This is the base of it, so I'm going to just show you that. So you can see the pan has got a little bit out of it at the front just here. There's a reason for that. And that's got 4 litres of warm water in it. I'm going to put this together and show you how it works. This is the middle bit. Now notice that there's a little funnel in the middle, and that is to let the steam out. And notice that that bit there sits in the little divot. So this is where the juice will come out of. So on top of here will go the fruit, but in what? Well, I'll show you. In this big colander basket. So that's the next layer. This is a really clever piece of kit. So the fruit's going to sit in there. I'm going to get 5 kilos of apples in there. The juice is going to drop down into here, and then that will come down this pipe, not into that pan, it will go into an awaiting demijohn. My fermentation vessel of choice today, as I've just said, is the good old humble demijohn. I think I've done enough introduction. Let's crack on. Okay, so I'm going to get my apples and I'm going to cut them into quarters like so. Now I'm doing this because when they go in the steam press, I want the steam to be exposed to the flesh so they break down easier. The apple skin, if I leave them intact, it would hinder that process from happening, and I'd get a less efficient yield of juice out of the apples. I'm using some right technical terms today. I'll just get these chopped up. Right, my apple quarters simply go in there. So it's nice and straightforward process. Chop, put in here. It's not a labour-intensive, laborious process like it used to be. I used to push my apples through a sieve, put the mushed apple into a bucket with spring water, etc. Not anymore. Thankfully, those days are over. This is a right piece of kit. Take steam press. Honestly, it's brilliant. And no, I'm not getting sponsored to say that. This is just my honest opinion from using it. Anyway, I'm going to get this halfway filled up and then I'll come back to you. Right, I'm a little bit over halfway full, but that's absolutely fine. I'm going to get my hops in there now. So I'm just going to pour some on top that are loose. Nice hoppy smell still from them. Now these are dehydrated, but they're not, and I know that they're compact in here, but they're not like hot pellets that you buy. So don't, when you look at the amount that I've put in, don't be like, oh, because it really isn't like hot pellets. That'll do anyway. I'll show you what I've got in there. Now that will give it the nice bittering, hoppy, aromatic flavour. It won't be too intense. It should be about right that. I've got to finish filling this up and then I'll get back to you. Right, I think we can say that's full. I'm going to get the lid on. It's not quite sitting snugly, but it will do when the apple begins to deteriorate. And by deteriorate, I mean when the fibres in the flesh begin to break down. Before I go any further, I'm going to put my dextrose monohydrate brewing sugar into my demijohn using this funnel. Slightly easier said than done. Takes a bit of persuasion. I'll come back to you when it's in there. Okay, so here is the setup for today. Let me talk you through it. So my apples are in the colander basket. In the bottom is the water. The steam will rise through the vent in the middle one, break the apples down, the juice will then drip into the middle one, and when it reaches the level here, it will come down the pipe and into my demijohn. The hot juice will hit the dextrose monohydrate brewing sugar and it will dissolve it. Now I will swill it around a little bit as well, but it dissolves really easily, so I let it dissolve it in the demijohn as it goes there, and it also protects the bottom of the demijohn from the immediate hot water until the glass has got used to it. Now, just in case the glass does fail, and it hasn't yet, fingers crossed, I've got it stood in a pan, and then I've got a towel under the pan to protect the laminate from the heat that will be in there. It's a pretty straightforward setup, to be honest, and this is a great bit of kit, like I keep saying. Can't recommend it enough. Right, so gas goes on low, not hot, or not high, I should say. This is a low and slow process, okay? Like the Beastie Boys sang, slow and low. Although technically they rapped it. For me now, this is just a case of playing the waiting game. So I'm going to come back to you with an update in about 90 minutes when we should see some steam, and it won't be long after that until we start to see some juice. So see you in about 90 minutes. So there's lots going on in the kitchen at the minute. I've got lunch cooking in the oven, I've got the dishwasher on, I've got the dehydrator, dehydrated onion skins, but what I've got here is what's important and the focus of this film, and you can see that there's a good amount of steam build up and the level of apples has now dropped. It's no longer touching the lid. The lid is fitting snugly. There is apple drip, drip, drip happening in here, and very soon that's going to be going through into the sugar. It's right exciting. Right, 30 minutes later, and we're in action. So all that lovely juice is now going in there, the sugar's dissolving. I'll give that a shake around in a little bit. But it's now a case basically just playing the waiting game. 7 hours later, it's done for today. So I've extracted all the juice I'm going to get out of this. I've just got the pipe now over a jug in case anything else drips down. But look at the level of apple steaminess. You can see it's dropped significantly. I'm quite happy now to dispose of that. I could make applesauce if I wanted, and I have done with some previous. But I've got that many apples, I just don't know what I'd do with all the sauce. So I'm just going to use that as fertiliser back on the garden to feed next year's. Let me show you what I've got. This is what I've got out. I've filled the demijohn right to the neck, and this is all lovely hoppy apple cider must. So I've got this on top to stop any contaminants getting in there, and it also allows the heat to escape. There's nothing else I can do with this today. It's far too hot for me to add any yeast or pectolase to. So I'm going to pick this up in the morning, which will be preparation day 2, stroke brew day 1. So I'll catch you then. Morning from the kitchen, folks. It's preparation day 2, stroke brew day 1 for my hopped cider. I'm just going to take the original gravity. So I'm just going to pour 100ml into my hydrometer tube. There we go. And that leaves a little bit of space in the top of the demijohn for the krausen. Now I'm lucky these apples don't seem to do massive erupting krausens, so I think that's going to be quite safe actually at that level. Let's get the hydrometer in and see where I am. And I'm starting on an original gravity of 1.044, 1044. So I'll just have a little nifter, see what it tastes like. It's nice. It's not too sweet either. It's got a very, very mild hoppiness which comes in at the back end. It kind of coats the outside of the tongue after the initial sweetness. It's not overly hoppy at all, so that's quite good. Sometimes I can make them a bit too hoppy, but that one seems quite nicely balanced. If anything, it might be under hoppy, but until it's actually had time to condition, I won't know that. Right, it's time to get my dry ingredients in. So this is my yeast nutrient. I'm going to put 2 heaped teaspoonfuls of this in there. It will be quite nutritious anyway, but every little helps. Now I'm going to put my yeast in, which is Van Class yeast, as I mentioned at the beginning. I'm going to put 1 rounded teaspoonful of this in there. That's all that I need. And I've used a different teaspoon to do that No, because I don't want to activate the yeast by using the same teaspoon that I had in the yeast nutrient. It probably wouldn't happen, but there's always a danger that it could. And finally, I'm going to shake a bit of pectolase in. I can't fit the teaspoon into this, so I'm just going to go, oh, big lump. I'm just going to go big lump. I'm aiming for kind of like 2 teaspoonfuls of the stuff. That'll do. I'm trying to achieve clarity in the brew, and the pectolase will break down any pectic enzymes that are in there. So hopefully I'll get a clear cider. Right, I need to have a little tidy round, get this labelled up, get my bung and airlock in. I'll come back to you shortly. Right, that's airlock in, label on, hopped cider, brew day 1, 26th of August 24, original gravity 1.044. I'll come back to you when fermentation begins. See you then. So hopped cider update, it's still brew day 1. But we've had a little bit of excitement and it's blown through. So I'm just going to clean out the airlock. It's no big deal, blow-throughs happen. Just got to rinse the airlock through both sides or in both directions. Make sure you flush it all out. Otherwise, if you leave any gunk in there, it'll go mouldy and black. I know that because I've done it. Right. So I'm going to put that back into the demijohn. And that's now back in, and I'm just going to give the outside of the demijohn a little tinkle. Just wash off any bits. There we go. Right, that's fine. Now when it's going to blow through again. Look, you can see it's already refluxing up there. So I might as well just leave it overnight like this. It can't do any damage on the kitchen drainer. So I'll just pick it up tomorrow morning and deal with it then. Right, catch you in the morning. Right, it's the next morning and same scenario as last night. So I think what I'm going to do is fit a blow-off pipe for now, and then I won't have to keep rinsing this out. And there we go, all sorted. I'll come back to you with an update once things have calmed down. Good evening from the kitchen, folks. It's brew day 26 for my hopped cider, and in this very short segment of film today I'm going to be doing a little bit of topping up. Now I'm topping up with apple juice from concentrate, and I just want to show you why. I've got a little bit wider an area exposed in there than I like. There isn't probably going to be any harm comes to this. I'm probably being overly cautious because it is only CO2 that's in there. But essentially, when you've got a wider area exposed, you've got more chance of your brew coming to harm. And by that, I mean, you know, basically going like vinegar. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to put some of this in there just to top it up so it's a smaller surface area which is exposed. Now, ideally, I should take an interim gravity reading before and then another gravity reading afterwards. I'm not doing that. It's such a small amount. It's this amount. It's a minuscule amount. I can't be bothered, okay? So the dilution that this will cause is going to be offset by the really tiny amount of fermentation. It's a tiny amount of dilution. It's a tiny amount of fermentation. It's all good. So essentially, bung comes out. I can get it out. There we go. And apple juice goes in. Surface area is reduced. And hey presto, tickety-boo, that's done. Right, so what will happen now is the extra little bit of sugar that's gone into that from this apple juice is going to be found by the yeast. Fermentation will take place probably for a day, and that'll be it. Then I'm leaving it, and I'm going to come back to this when it is time to bottle it, hopefully within a month. I'll catch you then. Good evening from the rather busy and noisy kitchen, folks. This is brew day 134, yep, for my hopped cider. It's been in the demijohn and I've just left it. I've been very busy. I've had to put homebrew to one side I'm now coming back to it. Let's have a look. So I left it to finish fermenting. All's good. I'm very happy with how it's turned out. You can see my hand quite clearly through it. There's a very, very fine amount of haze. In a glass, this will look perfectly clear. I'm bottling today into 5 700ml bottles and a half size 33 bottle down there. If there's any left over, I've got a glass for a cheeky sampler. So my bungs are softening in very hot water, ready to go in the bottles. And before I begin, I need to add some priming sugar into each bottle. This is just standard household granulated sugar, and I'm putting the equivalent of a teaspoonful into each of these large bottles, and I'll put half the amount into the small bottle. There is yeast left in suspension in there, and when it finds this sugar, it will break it apart, and when it breaks it apart, it will create CO2 as a byproduct, and that CO2 will build up in the bottle. It will create pressure, and that's what will give my cider the sparkle. That's the plan anyway. So there is a bit of background noise, and I apologise for that. I've got the mini oven on, I've got the dishwasher on, but it all needs to be on because there's lots going on, and this is just a good opportunity while something's cooking and while something else is washing for me to get this bottling done in between. So it's bung out, and this is going to be a bit stiff. That's it, we're out. And then the siphoning tube goes in. I've got it set to a depth which is just moderately above the sediment. I'm going to push it down a bit more actually, because this is a slightly different shaped demijohn to my last one. So it's just slightly into the murk, but it doesn't matter because the first bit that comes out is going into my hydrometer tube. After that it should be clear enough. Right, let's crack on. Oh, hydrometer tube first, nearly forgot then, didn't I? And we're clear and into the first bottle. Sneak peek at the gravity, it's looking good. The final gravity that is, so it's coming through nice and quickly, and this first bottle will be filled in about 20 seconds. So I'm going to get my first bung ready, about less than 20 seconds, and into the second bottle, and I'm going to get my first bottle with my plastic bung, and I'm just going to push it in the top, and that's now in place. Now I'm going to come back to this bottle because I don't want it to flood out, I should say. I'm just keeping an eye on it. I'm going to put a metal cage on top of this bottle and then go back to bottle number 2. And from bottle number 2 into bottle number 3, and I'm now going to twist this cage into place just here. Now when the pressure builds up in this bottle from the CO2 being produced, from that yeast in suspension finding that bitter sugar, secondary fermentation, pressure builds up, that bung becomes a missile without the cage to hold it in place. And I'm just distracted because the bottle I'm currently filling is such a dark green glass, I couldn't see the level of the cider within it, and it's just flooded out a little bit. Never mind. Right. Anyway, look, that's one bottle bunged and caged. So I'm just keeping an eye on the other bottles now. So that's bottle number 4 just about to fill, and into bottle number 5. So I'm definitely going to have enough to fill that and this, and there will be a little sampler for me. I've never complained at a cheeky sampler. So into the half size. Yeah, I probably could have managed 6 full-size bottles, but you can never be sure with this, so I thought I'd err on the side of caution. And from there, into my glass, and tonight's pre-dinner drink. Not wrong with that. And that's going to finish in a second. There we go, bubbles in the siphoning tube. Tell me that my glass almost runneth over, but not quite. Well, there's no point in wasting any, I'm from Yorkshire. Quite nice actually. Right, anyway, you've seen me bung and cage one of the bottles. I've got to repeat that for the rest of them. There's absolutely no point in you watching me do that for them all. So when they're all bunged and caged, I'll come back to you. Right, the hot tap is on. It's steamy. because it's actually very cold. It's -6 outside tonight. You can't see that, but we've got deep snow in the back garden. So I'm just rinsing these off so there's no sticky residue on the bottles, because I want to make labels for them. But before I can make those labels, we need to work out what the final alcohol by volume is for this brew by looking at the final gravity. So here is my hydrometer tube. The hydrometer is conveniently placed within. And I'm actually finishing on a final gravity, which is very slightly higher than I would have expected, but it's definitely finished fermenting. It is exactly on 1.000. So let's work out the alcohol by volume. So the original gravity for this brew was 1.044. I deduct from that the final gravity of 1.000, which equals 0.044. I then multiply this by 131.25, and the alcohol by volume is 5.775%. Let's just say 5.8%, because when that very fractional secondary fermentation takes place, it'll go up just a tinsy wincy bit. So 5.8%, happy enough with that. Decent cider ABV. Right, I'm going to let these drain a bit, have a little tidy round. I'll come back to you when it comes to label making very shortly. Right, I've made a very simple label using a program called Printmaster on my iPhone, which is now connected via Bluetooth to this Fomamo Bluetooth printer. I've asked it for 6 copies. Here we go. Nice and easy that, isn't it? So I just got to label my bottles. Made a dry bit on this one to get the label on. Okay, 1 down, 5 to go. I'll come back to you when they're done. And there they are, like 6 bottles of hoppy loveliness. Hoppy days indeed. Welcome to the living room, folks. This is where my hopped cider is going to condition. Here it is. It's up here on the top of my drinks cabinet. I've also got a couple of bottles inside the drinks cabinet, and I'm going to leave it now for a couple of months to do its thing. Now, I must point out, at this time of year, the heating in the living room isn't great when it's -8 outside, which it now currently is. It's 13.9 in here. It's not really warm enough for conditioning. It needs to be 18 plus, but give it another 3 or 4 weeks, temperatures will be back to normal. So I'm quite comfortable to leave this for a couple of months to condition. During conditioning, the flavours should develop. The hops flavour should come out of the cider. I should be able to taste it distinctly. And besides that, the sparkle should also develop. Now, in summertime, I can leave this for 4 weeks, and that's plenty. At this time of year, I'm going to leave it for at least 8 weeks, possibly a bit longer. So I'll catch up with you at the end of winter, beginning of spring, for the opening and tasting. See you then. Good evening from the kitchen, folks. It is brew day 221. Yep, for my hopped cider. We've had a pretty poor winter period going into spring. The temperatures have just been rubbish, and it hasn't been good enough for this to condition until now, and it's been glorious. Today is the 4th of April, so everyone's out there giving it one of them, but not in this house, of course. But yeah, today, lovely weather. We've had good weather for the last couple of weeks. The ambient temperature in the house through the daytime has been in the 20s, and I can see that the bung on this bottle, which hadn't previously, has very slightly raised. So hopefully that means that this has carbed. Now, it's had a long time in the bottle. It's had 3 months in the bottle, and that should mean that the flavours have had a chance to even themselves out and develop. I'm hoping that this is going to be something which is quite tasty. Will it be? We'll find out. No, we won't. I'll find out, then you'll find out. So, right, let's crack on. So I'm using my little friendly fork to save my fingers from this cage, which I suspect is going to break, and it has done. So another one for Cage Heaven. Rest in peace. You did good work. Right, moving on. So, yeah. Am I going to get a pop? Yes! And vapour. Hurrah! Oh, thank God for that. Honestly, I was thinking if I've left it this long and it still hasn't carved, yeah, I'm happy. I'm a happy chappy. Let's see what it looks like in the glass. I'm using a triple Carmelite glass from Belgium. It's my new favourite glass at the minute. And this is about as full as you get a triple Carmelite. But it does give the opportunity to get your nose in there. And I'm getting big cider vibes straight away, and the hop on the back end of that smell. Yeah, definitely smells like a cider, undoubtedly smells like a cider. I've got apples, and then yeah, the hops comes in right at the back end. Looking at it in there, there is plenty of carbonation, and I believe it is nucleated at the bottom of this. I'm pretty certain it is, which will help to demonstrate the bubbles. But essentially, I've got a good sparkler. I'm happy. Right, what does it taste like? More medium than expected and less hoppy. I wonder if aging it that little bit, that extra month or so, has toned it down, because normally the hops hit straight away and rakes the tongue. I'm not getting that at all. I'm getting something here which is reasonably pleasant and drinkable. Reasonably quite. Now it is only 5.8%, and therefore the flavours are more thorough and thicker than what they would have been if this had gone to, say, 7 or 8%, which quite often strips back a lot of the flavour. It's very nice. It's an extremely summery, drinkable drink. I mean, let me show you outside. And this is 10 to 7 in the evening. So yeah, good weather. And that means happy chappy in the garden, having a good drink, enjoying himself. This is a really nice cider. Now the hops are not as apparent as I thought they would be. I'm not quite sure why that is, but it's actually quite pleasant not to have an overpowering hoppy taste, because sometimes I do overdo it with the hops. I mean, I know I do. I know my own worst enemy at times. It's nice. It's really nice. I'm definitely going to enjoy this, and I would say it's one of the more pleasant hoppy ciders that I've made over the years, actually. I'm not growing hops anymore, incidentally. These are hops which are from 2 years ago, which have been dehydrated and then sealed tight in a pretty airtight environment, to be honest. And I've still got enough to last me all this year and probably all next year as well. I dug the hop plant up because it was just taking over my garden and I couldn't bear looking at it anymore. That's the downside to hops. But yeah, I might do some guerrilla planting in the countryside around here. Don't tell anybody I said that. I'll get blamed if someone does now. Anyway, look, I'm going to enjoy this. It's been a success. I would say make yourself a hoppy cider. See what you think. Another Tech Take steam press, decent flavoured cider. Yeah. A cidery cider. Right, cheers folks. I'll catch you on the next film, whatever that may be. I don't know what it is going to be, to be honest, but it's probably going to be cooking, and the next brew film hopefully in a couple of weeks' time. Right, catch you then.